Hey folks, Mike Dadkak with you. I want you to head over to marketplace.drstellamd.com. That's marketplace.drstellamd.com. That's where you can find all the health and wellness products you need to make sure you're prepared for whatever comes next. She's got Vax detox bundles, pandemic preparedness kits, ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine supplies. You can sign up for a telehealth session and get the care you need from a doctor who's been telling us the truth about health and wellness and COVID from the very beginning. Head on over to marketplace.drstellamd.com. Use promo code ITN as Dr. Stella, who's a friend of the show and a friend to freedom loving patriots everywhere, has agreed to give ITN viewers a generous discount. Take care of yourselves and your families by going to marketplace.drstellamd.com and getting the supplies you need to remain prepared. Tell them Mike sent you. Sheldon, my friend, how are you?
I'm awesome, Mike. Thanks for having me on again, man. It's been a long time and a good time, but since we've last spoke, there's a lot of things going on.
It's been a little too long, and I will take the blame for that, and we will definitely right the ship going forward. I am interested in hearing everything about you. How are you doing? How are things going north of the border?
Well, north of the border is kind of confused right now. Everybody's running a little amok. Your newly elected and secondly elected number 47, Donald Trump, is throwing Canada into a bit of a turmoil. That's on almost all levels, municipal, provincial, and federal.
Yeah. Well, we were all shocked when Trudeau resigned last month. Give us some context on that. What do we need to know about that?
Well, his own party has been trying to get him to step down or step aside for, I think it's since November of last year. I think there was around 30 of them that had gotten together and signed a letter saying, you got to go. The polling numbers have been in absolute terror for them for months and months. And they just kept sinking lower and lower and lower. And, by Christmas, nobody wanted him around. So when Trump was elected, man, that was the catalyst. I think it was like, all right, well, I'm not going to get anything done here. I'd best just walk away.
How do you think that? Oh, to be a fly on the wall. How do you think that meeting went when he went down to Mar-a-Lago to talk to Trump?
Well, he's never really been pride of Canada as an international traveler or as a diplomat. He wears all the costumes. He comes off looking like a buffoon. Yeah. Some of his previous trips, even for the Queen Elizabeth's funeral, he heads to the UK, rents himself an $8,000 a night suite, goes out, the night before, gets drunk, sings the Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen, which makes, of course, global headlines. Just an absolute embarrassment to all Canadians. Sure, there's some people that still support him, but that's because they have their hands in all of our pockets, right?
Well, I wanted to ask you about that. Tell us a little bit about the Canadian street and the support for Trudeau. Was it there? Was it not there? Was it kind of like it is here, where we're kind of gaslit into believing that the progressives have all the support when in fact we're a center-right nation? Is it the same thing up there?
Well, he got in off of what we call the pot boat, legalizing marijuana. So that was his first run. Yeah. But his last one was a snap election called 2 years short of the, what was supposed to be the natural election cycle. Yeah. And, what it was is he divided Canadians based on the vaccinations. So, he's the one that came out and said, you don't have to get vaccinated, but if you don't, you're not going to get on a plane or a train or, any public transport, and you're not going to put any vaccinated people in danger. And I'm going to be honest with you, like the guy that we had going up with him seemed okay, up until, certain parts of the election cycle, then just completely fell apart and lost what should have been the easiest conservative win in Canada, or I'm going to say in the history of politics or history of elections. Aaron O'Toole just fell down and came up flat. Nobody'd get off their couch to go out and vote for him. And Trudeau takes it again. So what he's basically done is he's worked on dividing Canadians into smaller factions and then riling one against the other. So, the old adage of putting the black ants and the red ants in the same jar and then shaking it up so that they fight, not realizing that there's outside external forces.
Yeah.
Like that.
It's the same playbook over and over. Is election integrity a huge deal up there as it is here? Do you guys have those concerns?
We do. So most recently, one of the Western provinces, British Columbia, went through theirs. And, and speaking a little bit about the Liberal Party, they'd collapsed so bad, on a federal level that on the provincial level, um, they basically got decimated. So they were wiped out of party status on the provincial level inside of British Columbia. A lot of them had actually fled to go over to the conservative side of things. Anyway, so we go through this election cycle, and it looked like it could have gone either way. The NDP, which is like liberal light, kind of a secondary version. They're like the Union Party or the Workers' Party is what they call them.
Okay.
Which all it means is basically union dollars sponsoring a political party that, gets them the graces.
Right.
Anyway, so right now we're going through this cycle. Well, there was one riding that was called, and I think it was by around 20 votes. And then they'd found I think it was a hospital or like a mental hospital that had more votes coming out of there by people that weren't registered to live there that could have actually taken that. So there's still some question as to the legitimacy of that. Inside of my own province, we've gone back to hand-counted votes.
Oh, congratulations.
At least on the municipal level, because, and I'm not going to say that anything nefarious went wrong in the last elections. Some stuff went a little confusing, running out of ballots and that sort of thing at certain polling stations. But there's a lot to that. The trust has been broken. So Premier Danielle Smith and her government, the UCP, the Conservative Party of Alberta, they went ahead and just moved forward and said, you know what, we're not going to have this, these questionable statistics or these questionable things soiling our democracy.
No, it's important, and the ripple effects of that are very, very detrimental, and they're very, very damaging. Even if people, they don't want to do anything about it, but deep down inside, they feel like their votes don't matter anymore because there are some shenanigans going on. That is damaging in and of itself. And I don't want to bury the lead here, so let's talk about this. Shell, you're running for city council.
Yes.
First of all, I'm going to vote for that. This is legal now, right? I can vote for you, right?
No, absolutely. Yeah. Come down. I can get you a couple of extra ballots. Bring some friends.
That's right.
We'll sign you down. I'll have more of you voting for me than dead people in California.
That's exactly right.
No, this is an interesting place to be. There's a lot of kind of foreground that goes with this. Sure. A big portion of it is our current incumbent, Sean Chu, the councillor that I'd voted for a couple of times. Fiscally minded, conservative, into family values, was very active in the community for his first run. Had a bit of a hiccup in his stretch. Some accusations over sexual misconduct when he was a police officer with the Calgary Police Force.
Wow.
So he was a little, I'm going to say, hamstrung throughout his second term, wasn't as able to do much, and he's decided to step away from the role. Now I have an idea of, who possibly could come in, and there are some impactful players inside of our politics.
Yeah.
And I thought, I don't want to leave this to chance. I'll scratch the surface to see what it looks like.
Yeah.
And as it turns out, yeah, man, I'm going for it now. I'm in it to win it.
This is absolutely fantastic. And I got to tell you, one of the things that I get the greatest satisfaction from is watching people that I have been in contact with, such as yourself, over the last 3 or 4 years, get more and more active and more involved. It's a great thing to watch, because you guys are I am not Canadian, but if I were, you would be the exact person that I would want representing me. So this is absolutely fantastic. What kind of a reaction are you getting from people that you talk to?
I'm getting a huge amount of support. Through the last couple of years, I've worked with, worked at supporting our provincial government. I've attended a lot of events. Through just a little bit of social media attention, have been able to host a couple of parties with a couple of other friends. Marty up north, Andy Lee, Vitamin D's. So we just get together and we try and loop in some of our political, our members of legislative assembly, and what it's to do. Eva Chipiuk, I don't want to forget Eva. She's been absolutely amazing over these last couple of days. And what it is it's about just getting people, off of social media, coming out. Let's have these conversations now that we have, somebody around that can hear what you're trying to say instead of this just being a rant online.
That is it's very powerful and it's fantastic. Did your family try and talk you out of it?
Oh, my wife hates this. Well, here's the thing is, and we're still waiting. I've got my fourth grandchild that's expected anytime, but this has been going on for over a week now.
Yeah.
So a week ago, I had my launch party, and that had been planned for 2 weeks prior.
Yeah.
And then I get news 2 days before the party that they've done a sweep, and I don't know all the terms for, that wasn't something that I think we really talked about when my children were being born. But when you get a sweep, apparently, the baby's coming within 24 to 48 hours. So we totally expected for us to have our fourth grandchild born on my launch party night. Wow. That didn't happen. We're a week away from that. We're 9 days past that, the original date, right?
Yeah.
So it could come anytime. So there's always these family pressures with us.
Yep.
My wife's not much into the social situations. When we get together, it's pretty much just the family, or family with some friends. So
right, same.
Being out in the spotlight and all of this is kind of a big thing.
No, it's a huge thing, and I asked that question with my tongue planted firmly in my cheek. But in seriousness, what are you hoping to accomplish here?
Hoping to accomplish. You know what? Canada has changed a lot over the last, mostly over the last decade. But prior to that, we had a fellow I went to school with as the mayor, Naheed Nenshi. And, he seemed okay, ran under a purple banner. So he's, I'm not blue, I'm not red, I'm purple, I'm the voice for everybody. And as it turns out, he was just a ripping liberal. So there was a lot of destruction that was done inside of the communities. And that's, when we see how the woke movement came out, the DEI, the alphabet communities.
It destroys everything it touches.
It really does. And it gets so ingrained inside of communities. And I think that politics, the face of politics, starts at the municipal level. So they take the cities first, then they move to the province, and then they move to sweep the country.
That's right.
So, what I'm hoping to accomplish, and with a lot of other people inside of the city, seeing how the city's being treated by our current city council, which isn't very favorable. Nobody feels like they have representation. The city's done some pretty awful things. And I'm hoping that I get placed with 15 other members. There's 14 boards inside of the city plus the mayor. So, there's 15 people on council. I hope the 14 people that I get to work with, knock on wood, are in the same sort of ideals, like looking at how much the spending's changed inside of the city, how much the ideals have changed, the messaging. And I hope we can, stop the clock for a minute, have a look at all the things that we were doing that made Calgary a world-class city.
Yep.
Have a look at everything else that's been added that's no value.
Yep.
Define what those differences are and get back to the basics. Get back to family and traditional values, safety in the streets, supporting our infrastructure. Yeah, I'm working on a program with one of the builders just to increase the amount of soccer centers that are available. Like, there is so many, like half of the players are going to be kind of without a soccer center if something doesn't change. We're a rich city.
Yeah.
We have a council that's focused more on working against Calgarians than they do for us.
Yep.
So, nobody's elected me to do this. It was just one of the things that I was introduced to. I don't get paid anything for it. Obviously, it's a movement where we're just trying to raise awareness.
Yeah.
Nobody even invited me into it. I just threw my name in and said, hey, you know what? This is what I'm supporting because, one, I have a grandson that's playing soccer right now. Two, I have two granddaughters that may be looking at the same thing. In 5-6 years, I'll have another grandchild that could be coming into this. And soccer is an affordable sport. It's great to get kids introduced into a team setting, team atmosphere.
Yep.
And it's something that parents can kind of rally around. So I mean, it's really big and important on an entry level sport. So when I found out about this, it was like, absolutely, I am 100% behind this. Whatever we have to do, whoever we have to talk to, I'll do live streams. I'll go out and meet with counselors. I'll go out and meet with the province, and let's see if we can get some funding. Let's see if we can get some direction on this.
I think it's absolutely fantastic, and it sounds to me like your platform is a platform of common sense, and that seems to be one of the things that this MAGA movement down here in the States is helping to spread. You see this wave of populism kind of spread all over the world, where citizens and nations all over the world are kind of waking up and saying, wait a second, why are we living with a government that hates us when there's an alternative? Is there a Make Canada Great Again movement like there is here? Is there an analogous kind of thing going on there?
Well, with that, I mean, the lefty Liberal Party that's in government right now and supported by the Liberal Light NDP, inside of the House, one of them actually introduced a term, in our Parliament, and they called us the Maple MAGA. So
I love that. Where's the T-shirt?
Yeah.
Where can I?
Well, and that was the thing, is when Canadians heard this, instead of being outraged by it, they were like,
they loved it.
Damn right we are. We are Maple MAGA. We are,
right.
And that's really what it's. So the Conservative Party out here, they obviously they don't talk too much about the slanders and stuff. They'll politics is getting a lot more dirty down here, or up here, sorry, than has been for years. Like, it was always clean fights, fairly respectful. Right. But now the gloves are off, man. The names are being thrown around there, and it's sad to see, but it's the world we're living in. We've got to pull the gloves off. Yeah, no sugarcoating, Tim. That's absolutely right. And we got to go in the ring swinging. There's a certain percentage of the population that's going to be on the left. There's a certain percentage that's going to be on the right. The majority of people are still inside of the middle.
That's right.
So, I mean, somewhere in between throwing punches, you're still going to want to make sure that you're grabbing a certain portion of all of that. And like you said, just makes sense to the people that are coming out that could support you in a bid run.
I think that's very well said. There's a lot of talk about tariffs these days. How is that going over up there?
Well, now I live in Alberta. So Alberta was the one province where we had our premier, Danielle Smith, and we're all really proud of her, that went down, met with Trump at Mar-a-Lago, went down for the inauguration. We're the energy province, the oil and gas province. And, I think the biggest portion of trade that gets done with the United States is on, our oil and gas. Like, we're one of the number one trading partners. I don't know all the metrics. Maybe there's some other stuff that's kind of comparable, but we're the big one. And, when the tariffs were being introduced, and because of some actual diplomacy on part of our premier with Trump, and maybe some realization on his part, the amount of trade that we do and what it could cost the U.S., instead of hitting us with the 25% on our number one export, the biggest part of our GDP, is he gave us only a 10%. Would that hurt us? Well, I think it might hurt a little, but not as much as a 25% would. And if you look at the value of the Canadian dollar versus the US dollar right now, and the fluctuation in oil prices that we've seen over the years, it wouldn't be much different than a small spike for the US consumers in still using our product. And we still buy enough back that, is it really going to offset or make that big of a difference? On us, no. So we'd work to protect our province. The rest of the country looked to throw us under the bus. So they went for this Team Canada approach. And the Team Canada approach, they've never been pro-Alberta. they've, it's always the East versus West here.
Yeah.
And Alberta, because we have an economy that's based on oil and gas, and with all the green scam, renewable, blah, 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 that's going on. Everybody was first to throw us under the bus, saying, well, without the Texans, there'd be no Alberta. Well, yeah, no. And here's the other thing is our federal government has stopped us from building pipelines to getting our product to Tidewater.
Right.
So we've basically really been limited to having only the U.S. as a primary importer of our product. That's hampered us too. And again, it's the same thing. It's the anti-Alberta, anti-oil and gas sentiment that's really kind of set us back. So this Team Canada approach, all the other provinces had this little hissy fit, but their number one thing is, okay, well, we'll sacrifice the redheaded stepchild again. And that was us. And our premier went down and said, no, that's not going to happen. And as it turned out, it didn't happen. Now we have this little 30-day reprieve that's going on right now. And, some of the premiers are, still lighting their hair on fire. We had one that signed $100 million deal with Elon Musk for, Starlink services in Ontario. That's, and there's a lot of people that would benefit from that. Did they have to spend $100 million on Starlink when it's actually available for purchase at Costco and through other local retailers? They absolutely did not.
This is why we need you on the city council show.
Yeah. And then booze. I guess we do $1 billion worth of booze out of the one province, buying American liquor and bringing it in. So the premier of Ontario, Doug Ford, he came out spitting and spraying stupidity all over Twitter and in front of every camera that he was in. And he said, we're pulling American alcohol off the shelves. I'm canceling this $100 million deal with Elon Musk because he's working against Canadians. And then, 12 seconds later, Trump goes, yeah, okay, no tariffs. And then everybody's like, oh, okay, well, we'll keep the deal with Elon and put their booze back on the shelves. And I was like, you guys are embarrassing. You're completely embarrassing. Cooler heads prevail, Mike.
Cooler heads prevail. When we first started talking a couple of years ago, another hot button issue was how there were scores of folks from the CCP that were allowed for some reason to set up shop on the Canadian side of the northern border here. What can you tell us about that? Is there an update on that?
Well, there was a lot more to that, and I still think that there is a lot more than we're letting on.
Agreed.
There was a couple of the Winnipeg scientists that, basically walked out with vials of, bio warfare.
Remember that well, yes.
They ended up shipping them along with, labeled as kitchen utensils.
Yes.
Through something equivalent to UPS.
Right.
So seeing what kind of, security lapses that had taken place in the Winnipeg lab, there were some investigations, but the criminal parties were allowed to continue on 8 months past this point of, we know what's going on, sell, copyright or trademark in China, or, developing off of information that they'd taken from Canada. And 8 months after, they basically vanish into the breeze. Nobody knows where they're at. Another big portion of that is these, what they call Chinese police stations.
Yes.
So, the onside of the election interference, these Chinese police stations, and I know they exist. I don't know to what level.
Right.
But apparently what they do is they keep control over their population. So a family moves here from China and it's just a husband and wife. They have a child and whatever. They still leave mom and dad, maybe some brothers and sisters back in, on their home soil. Right. And apparently what these Chinese stations do is they will direct these people. This is what you will do or we'll hurt your family. This is how you will vote or we'll hurt your family. So, there is something about that. Supposedly some of that's being taken care of, but to be honest with you, I'm not satisfied with the answers that we've received out of the federal government on that. And, we're going through some questionable, like our FBI, which is the CSIS, They actually leaked some information to one of the media stations saying that there was 11 compromised, people inside of our government. And,
Wow.
so we've gone through 2 years worth of investigations for, a liberal judge, where we know a big portion of these people are on the liberal side of things that were impacted, that may not be speaking to Canadians. She came out and said, there's nothing to see here. We investigated ourselves and we found out that we didn't do anything wrong.
Mm.
Now, from my standpoint, if it got ignored so long that our own intelligence agencies are ratting our government out to the media just to try and get some attention, it's a lot bigger than they're making out.
That's a cry for help. No, 100%. That's them saying, "Hey, listen, we're going straight to the people because we have no other recourse." That's what they're saying there.
That's it. And yeah, like I said, 2 years of investigations. This is the second commission that just came out, Justice Hogue, the Hogue Commission, public inquiry. And, there was a lot of documents that were read behind closed doors. And again, I don't know to what extent these people are compromised. We do have Sam Scooper Cooper and a good friend of mine, Andy Lee, that digs into a lot of the influence inside of these things. They said there's upward to, around 50 people inside of our government that are compromised to some extent, and it's through China.
That's 50 too many.
That's exactly it. So will we ever get to see this? Hopefully in a changing of government, some of these things get opened up. But I mean, Canada's got so many problems that we've been spent into that our focus is going to be directed on, what I seen? It was a statistic. Where was it? I think this is it here. No, that wasn't it. It's like 345 people per day for every day of last year went into insolvency.
Wow.
345 people a day, every day.
That is a scary statistic.
That was up 12% over the year previous, so over 2023. Now, we're out of the pandemic, forever, whatever that was. There is no reason that our country should be going broker, but yet here we are.
Yeah.
So we've got, like I said, we've got a number of issues on the economic side of things, on families, affordabilities, the interest rates that we're going to be really focused on. And are we going to does anybody really get held accountable in politics?
Well, that's what this movement is about. It's about accountability, because how do you make the case to the people that you're trying to govern if 350 people go bankrupt every single day that you're doing a good job? You are not doing a good job, and there's no accountability. That's why they're allowed to keep doing that poor job.
Yeah. Now, what's impressive is, through Elon, is he's opened up this DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency.
That's right.
And, they've done some searching around inside of the, the documentation departments, and USAID obviously was a big one.
That's right.
Showing where they were spending money. Well, Canadians have known this for a long time. Everybody's calling for a DOGE for Canada. We definitely need one on our city council. I think we could use one inside of our province, even though it's run by our Conservative Party. I don't think a little independent oversight into some of the things that they're doing would be a terrible thing. At least it lends transparency. But on the federal side, man, the money that we've spent on stupidity.
Yeah.
Over the last couple of days, again, this is a lot of people, a lot of my friends have doged some of our own government spending, saying this is where we would cut. And for Canada, Naya Panner opened up some statistics that I found absolutely shocking, where it's over a 9-year period, Canadians, without their knowledge, had given $1.5 trillion away to charities.
Wow.
So that's $150 billion a year, man. That's a huge number.
Well, this is why they want to keep the people out of politics and out of office, so they don't uncover things like that.
It's all publicly posted. That's the thing. It's just nobody knows what to look for. Nobody knows where to look for it.
Right. It's hiding in plain sight.
Yeah, but now the Canadians are waking up and they're paying attention. They're going, man, this doesn't look right. And we're finding like there was one thing that, we laughed and cried about on an equal scale. And that's Canada has given, and I'm not sure of the country, and I don't want to identify them because I don't want to seem like I'm picking on them. Lest I be called racist again. I mean, like anything can make you a racist these days, right?
That's right. Telling the truth makes you a racist.
Exactly. So, anyways, $20 million of Canadian taxpayer money went to educating people in a foreign country to not poop on their beaches. Not on Canadian beaches. We gave $20 million to another country so that they would stop crapping on their own beaches. It was an education program, putting up signs, when we have our proud little logo on the bottom of these things, and we could say, guys, we're doing something fantastic here. $20 million for that, man. It's
yeah.
We have 345 people a day going into insolvency. We have a quarter of the population that is struggling with food insecurities. And food insecurities means they're skipping meals to either feed their children or they're skipping meals because they can't afford to eat. Of the quarter of the population, this is 1 in 4 people, 40 million people. There's 10 million people that are living with food insecurities. 2 million of those are children.
Wow.
2 million people are hitting our food banks per month. That number's growing. This has been, since COVID, and with people being wiped out through interest rates, losing their homes, their vehicles, their investments, spending $20 million on the beach poopers is disgusting.
And even but the thing is that those $20 million, I am willing to bet that aren't really being spent on that. That's what we're being told it's being spent on, but who knows where it's really going? It's being laundered one way or the other. And that's the real crime. Even if it was being spent on that, there would be a tragedy in and of itself. But I don't even think that's happening. I think it's being pocketed by people along the way.
It has to be. Have you ever seen that movie with Richard Pryor? It's called Monty's Millions.
Yes.
Yeah. So Monty's, the premise of this, and I'll go over it real quick. Monty, his one of his uncles that he doesn't know he have gives him $30 million, and he has to spend $1 million a day.
Right.
For a month, and then he gets like $1 billion, whatever the payout is.
Right.
And he struggles to spend this $1 million a day. Tell me how you would spend $20 million, even at today's prices.
Yeah, that's a great point.
On a campaign that's going through this. I mean, the same thing can be said about the Ukraine. The same thing could be said about the $5 billion that we've committed to fixing the weather in tropical destinations under the guise of climate change. It's, like I said, when we have people starving inside of our own country, we're throwing money away, and nobody seems to be aware of what's going on. I mean, there's a lot of us that are out there trying to break into this, trying to break it out for people in a way that they can understand it and get a little enraged about it, so that we, the next election comes, we hopefully change some things.
That's exactly the point. You're trying to wake people up, and this is why it's fantastic, and this is why you've gotten my vote. I'm going to send in a mail-in ballot. We're coming up on time here, Shell, but before we let you go, I want you to tell the folks the website and how they can lend their support, and even folks down here south of the border, how they can lend their support. Obviously, we can't vote because we're not like the folks on the other side. We actually play by the rules, but how can we support you?
So I have a Substack, and, for the campaign time over the last couple of months, and because I know people are feeling the pinch, if people from outside of the province want to support me, they can just search up YAKStack, YAKKSTACK, just like you see it on the screen there. You'll find my Substack. The billing will be turned on. Subscribe for a month, or become a max subscriber at $500. For my campaign, if people are inside of the province that are watching the show, and this is only the province of Alberta that can actually donate to my campaign fee, and I'm keeping this 100% on the level, is if they go to Sheldon 4, Ward 4, and that's, all numbers, Sheldon with the number 4, Ward number 4, .ca. I do have a donation page that's set up. There is a maximum of $5,000 per person or business. I don't think that I'll have anybody that supportive of me that'll throw, 10 grand at it. And there has been some changes to the election finances, and I believe that we're only allowed to raise about $98,000 per person. So I'm gonna be looking for a lot of support on that side of things. But I want to earn it on the legit, because if I'm not out there really rubbing the carpets and figuring things out, representing my community, I don't deserve their donations and I don't deserve their vote.
Shell, you're a great guy, and the folks of Calgary would be foolish not to vote for you. Thanks for coming by, and come back real soon.
I hope so, Mike. It's always a great time, man.